Good morning, girls and boys. We are now on chapter 26. We're getting close to the end of the story. Okay, Kid! Peter twisted around so sharply he nearly fell over. He had been certain the guard station was empty. He had watched for 10 full minutes to make sure before leaving his cover. A soldier came out from behind a truck. He lifted his rifle butt to the sign chained over the barricade. No entry. Peter straightened up as tall as he could on his crutches. It had been 2 days since he had spoken to anyone. 2 days since the bus driver had said, "I don't know what you're really up to, son, but I doubt it's a good idea. You want, I can get you a bus back tonight. No shame in that." And Peter had replied, "No thanks," because there would have been shame in turning back, and then the bus driver had said, "All right then, good luck," and let him out. Not a soul had spoken to him that night. The town was on the perimeter of the evacuated area, and the few people he passed cast their eyes down, picked up speed as if they couldn't afford to make contact with anyone who might need help. "Nothing extra here," their looks had said. "All is already lost." The next day, from sunrise to well past sunset, and most of this morning, he had traveled on roads, through vacant towns, past abandoned schools and playgrounds and neighborhoods, spookily silent without their squeaking tricycles, their car radios, their pickup ball games. The only familiar sound had been water running through garden hoses when he filled his thermos. He hadn't seen any other humans, but he had seen the animals they left behind. A skittish pony tugging up grass in front of a church, dogs eyeing him balefully from behind dumpsters, dozens of skinny cats sliding away, their flanks hollow as spoons. "Hey, kid!" The soldier moved closer. He eyed Peter's handmade crutches, the rough cast, the dirty clothes. "We evacuated this area almost 2 weeks ago. Where have you been? You don't know that?" "I know that, but I left someone down there. I'm going to get him." "Take it easy. We checked the records. Everyone's out." "Well, he's not a person," and Peter jutted his chin, defying the soldier to argue. Instead, the soldier's face changed, became somehow younger, and Peter saw that he wasn't that long out of high school. He slid his rifle back into its sling. "I have a dog, Henry." And he didn't say anything else for a minute, just looked down the road as if he were hoping this dog of his would suddenly appear. Then he turned back and sighed, "I don't think anyone's walking him. My sister said she'd do it, but she works. Want to see his picture?" Even before Peter nodded, the soldier had drawn out his wallet. He held out a picture, a beagle, an ordinary beagle. Peter's throat hurt. The corners of the photo were worn soft and colorless. The picture had been taken out of his pocket a lot. "That's Henry. I got him for my 8th birthday. His hips are bad now, but he still likes his walk, you know. Still likes to sniff out squirrels and stuff. I told my sister that, but Henry won't understand where I've gone, is the thing. He'll wait at the door all day for me. What's yours look like? I'll keep an eye out for him." "Well, Pax isn't And Peter stopped. If it didn't matter that Pax wasn't a human, why should it matter that he wasn't a dog? He's red, with black legs," said Peter. "How big is he?" said the soldier. "Coyotes out here. They have pups this time of year. They'll take down a small dog when they have a litter to protect." "Well, he's pretty small." Peter shifted his weight off his blistered palms. "Please, I've come a long way to find him." The soldier gazed at his photo another minute before slipping it into his wallet. When he looked back at Peter, he seemed older again. "We're holding them, but they're coming. You going in? You go in. You've got to be back out by tomorrow." And he pointed at Peter's crutches. "You can do that?" "I can. So, you'll let me through?" The soldier looked around and leaned in. This road is patrolled hourly, but we only guard the main trail entrances. No one is stationed in the woods yet. You travel 20 yards in, no one will stop you. But listen, if you get caught, I didn't just say that. Now get out of here." "Thanks." Peter turned and started for the woods before the soldier could change his mind. "Kid, I hope you find him." It was quiet in the woods, but here the quiet was right, and it was broken by the sound of wild things, which seemed a promise. Here Peter could imagine seeing Pax's red brush flicking between the trees. Here, when he called, it was easy to imagine an answering bark. These things raised his spirits so much that he could almost ignore the pain in his palms and in his armpits, bleeding and raw. For an hour he pegged over ground that was so springy with decades of fallen pine needles, it seemed to lift him. When he heard the rough growl of a jeep, he ducked behind some brush until it passed. After that, he walked along the road's edge, sure that when another patrol went by, he'd have enough warning to take cover. And then he was there. It wasn't a landmark he recognized, or the way the road straightened out of its curve. It was a sense of betrayal that hung all around. He had done something terrible here, and the place remembered it. "Pax!" he called, not caring if anyone heard him. Let the jeeps come. Let a whole army come. He wasn't leaving without his fox. "Pax!" Against his shouts, the silence grew only deeper, ominous now, not promising. He started along the road again, calling and keeping his eyes to the gravel shoulder. He was sure Pax had had this toy soldier in his mouth when the car had peeled away. Whenever Pax had given up on Peter, he would have dropped it. Peter wanted to hold it in his hand again, a solid proof that his fox had been here. He walked a quarter mile, a half mile, eyes down, and then he stopped short. He wasn't going to find that toy soldier because Pax wouldn't have given it up. Not ever. Pax would never have thought he had been abandoned. They were inseparable. Pax had known it all along. Peter was the one who had to learn it. If Pax wasn't here, he must have gone home to find Peter, or tried. Maybe the river would have blocked him, but maybe not. Dogs made it home against crazy odds all the time. Pax was 10 times smarter than any dog, so why wouldn't he be able to find his way home? Maybe he was already there. Home. Home was about 10 miles southeast of the old mill, and the mill was probably 4 or 5 miles south of where he was right now. So he'd head south, calling for Pax all the way. The gorge beside the mill would be too dangerous to navigate in the dark, so he'd sleep there and then make the descent at dawn. He would cross the river where it widened out at the mill, and then after another 10 miles of trails that he knew, he'd be home. "Hold on," he said out loud. "I'm coming, Pax." Oh, he's got a lot of ground to follow to find Pax. All right, this is chapter 27, and it's short, so we'll read it. And now we're back to Pax. Pax woke with a start. His boy was near. He jumped to his feet, waking Bristle, who had been dozing beside him, and he began to search the clearing for Peter's scent. Nothing, but Peter was near. Pax bolted through the trees to the ridge above the encampment. He saw no youth among the war-sick. He did not hear Peter's voice among the murmurs and shouts. He crept down the hill and circled the camp as close as he dared, scenting from all directions. His boy was not there. But he was near, and he was coming. Pax returned to Bristle's side and lay down, but he did not sleep. Let's see how that was a really short chapter. Let's see how long. Well, I don't think we're going to get through all of chapter 28, but we can start some of it. Peter traveled south for almost an hour, feeling certain that Pax had traveled the same route. But when he emerged from the woods, he stopped. A vast meadow sloped down for at least a mile before flattening into another mile of wide green floor. At the base of that, The land rose hundreds of feet in jagged steps, as if chopped with a giant hoe. And beyond that, rolling to the horizon, was the forested plateau that hid the gorge. Since waking, he had traveled 9 hours without thinking of resting once. But now the stunning immensity of the distance ahead drained what was left of his energy. He dropped his pack and fell to the ground. 9 hours of gripping the crutch handles had stiffened his hands into claws. He forced them open and felt the raw palm split. They'd blistered the day before, broken open and blistered again. He poured cool water from his thermos over the hot pulp of his palms and set to work picking out shreds of tire rubber. Then he eased his extra pair of socks over his hands and looked out again. A movement halfway down the valley caught his eye. Something trotted in bouncing clips between 2 trees. Fox movement. Peter rose to his knees. Pax! There it was again. But no, whatever was there was tan, not red. Coyote, maybe. The thought was a shot of adrenaline, and suddenly he was moving again, pack slamming against his back, crutches pistoning down the hill all the way to the valley bottom in just half an hour, and then sinking into the boggier ground there, muddy and slower, but still moving. And then a 10-foot sheer rock wall loomed in front of him. The cliffs were a lot taller than they had appeared from across the valley. Before he could second-guess himself, Peter hurled his backpack and then his crutches up and heard them clatter onto a stony ledge. He wedged his fingers into a crevice and pulled. His cast scraped along the rough rock face, but his arms were strong from Vola's training, and he levered himself into a shallow foothold. From there, he reached for a jutting tree, and then another crack in the rock, and then he heaved himself over the first ledge. It took an hour to climb the steep rise that way, crutches and pack first, and dragging himself after. When he reached the crest, panting and sweat-soaked, he fell to the ground under a tall tree. He drained his thermos in one swallow and ate the last of the ham sandwiches. He opened Vola's second packet. Peanut butter. Peter's throat closed. He remembered the first time Pax had found an empty jar in the trash. He had squeezed his snout in so deep it had gotten stuck, and Peter had laughed until it hurt. He stuffed the sandwich back into the bag, wishing he had found it the day before, and tossed it to the dogs scavenging the dumpsters, and he got up again. It was almost 6 o'clock, and he had ways to go still. As he traveled, the memory of those hungry-eyed animals accompanied him, darting and retreating like accusing ghosts. He wished he could tell them that he knew how it felt to have the one person who had loved you and taken care of you suddenly vanish. How the world suddenly seemed dangerous after that. He had lost a parent. How many kids this week, he wondered, had woken up to find their worlds changed that way, their parents gone off to war, maybe never coming home? That was the worst, of course. But what about the smaller losses? How many kids missed their older brothers or sisters for months at a time? How many friends had had to say goodbye? How many kids went hungry? How many had had to move? How many pets had they had to leave behind to fend for themselves? And why didn't anyone count those things? People should tell the truth about what war costs, Vola had said. Weren't those things the costs of war too? With a start, Peter found that the dark was falling around him. A little panicked. He should have been looking for a good place to settle for the night. He spun around. His left crutch shot out onto a patch of loose stones. He fell onto it and heard a crisp snap. For an instant, he feared rib, but the sound had been wood. He landed, still gripping the top of the crutch. 6 feet away was its bottom shank. Diabloman! It came out naturally, a satisfying word. He tried out some other swears, and they felt pretty good, too. But the way the darkening woods absorbed his shouts without a response made him uneasy, so he stopped. He didn't have the luxury of venting anyway. He had a crutch to repair, and not much light left.